Hello, Tungsten Miner here. Today I'm going to talk about Tinker's Construct. It's a pretty big mod, so I may not get through all of it, but we'll see how far I get. The basic idea, though, in Tinker's Construct is to allow you to build tools from interchangeable parts. And each of the parts have different strengths and weaknesses and special abilities, so you can make these really, really customizable tools. It also adds a lot of tools that don't come with vanilla Minecraft. So lumber axes and hammers and crossbows and all sorts of things that you just can't get. To start, though, you want to build these different tables. So this is a stencil table, and you just take a set of planks and you add one of these stencils to it. So if we look at what you can do with these things, um, yeah, if you take one and drop it on top of a piece of spruce wood, you'll get a part builder table, and there's a couple of different variants of that. You can take one and put it on some planks, and you get this stencil table that we're looking at now. You can take one and drop it on top of a crafting table and get a tool station. And you can take it and drop it on top of a chest and get a pattern chest. And those are kind of the basic materials that you see in this little segment here. The job of the stencil table is to take these plain wooden stencils that are just a pair of sticks and a pair of planks, and you get 4 of them, and convert it into all of the different types of stencils that you might need. So for example, if we wanted to build ourselves a shovel, we'd need a stencil for a tool rod, and we'd need a stencil for the shovel head, and that gets us the pieces we'd need to make that kind of tool. If we also wanted to make a pickaxe, say, we'd need a binding, and we'd need a pickaxe head. So depending upon what tool you want to make, you figure out what parts you need, and then make the different stencils. Okay, so over here, I've got a pattern chest connected to a part builder. So the pattern chest is basically a chest that can only hold these stencils. And I've already gone ahead and built all of the possible different stencils, so we don't have to fuss about it too much. The part builder works by taking whatever stencil it is that you need for the part you're going to make. So let's say we want to make some tool rods, and then you grab whatever material. So let me, for example, just grab a bunch of cobblestone here, and we'll make some tool parts out of cobblestone. So I take my cobblestone and I put it on the right-hand side. I put my pattern on the left-hand side, and now I can grab a stone tool rod. Now the stone tool rod, you can see the material cost is 1/2, which means it's only going to take half a block's worth of material to make, leaving the other half, which is in the form of a stone shard. As soon as I take it out, it's kind of offering to go ahead and make that part again. Before, I wasn't able to do that. So I can take this and put it away. And now if I wanted to make, say, gosh, I don't know, a sword, I can take this wide guard pattern and drop it in here and take my stone shard. And because the material cost for here is only half, I can get a stone guard and use up that extra little shard of stone. So it's a good idea if you're making a couple of different tools to think about reusing those shards to make the next little bit. Now, if I wanted to continue on towards making that sword, I can grab sword blade pattern, and that has a material cost of 1. Most of the smaller parts have a material cost of 1. Some of them have half. And now I've got the stone parts for making a stone sword. That's where this guy comes in. If I move over here to the tool station, I now have basically a recipe for building lots of things and for repairing certain things. So if I'm making my sword, for example, I can click on the sword, and it's going to tell me I need these 3 parts, and we can see them described over here: a sword blade, wide guard, and a handle. Now a handle is really just any kind of tool rod, so I'll drop that on there. Here's my sword blade, so I'll drop it on there, and I'll take my wide guard and drop it on there. And I can give it a name, just like using a vanilla anvil. We'll call this a stone sword. And we can see its durability is going to be 78 out of 78. It's always fully healed. Other materials have better durability, some have worse. Its attack is going to be 2.5 hearts, so not a very strong sword at all. Other materials have better attack rates. And it has 3 modifiers remaining. I'll talk about modifiers a little later, but the basic idea is that you can once you've made your tool, craft additional things into the tool in order to make it stronger or have more special abilities. So now I've got my stone sword. The sword has a base attack of 2.5, so the extra 2.5 from the materials gives it 5 total. And now this is just a regular sword like any other kind of sword. If I should damage this sword, I can bring it back to my tool station, drop it in that tool slot, and then add extra materials here to repair it. Now, of course, at the moment, its durability is full, so I'd have to have one that has less durability. But if I were to just take some cobblestone and drop it on there, I could craft it back into the sword to repair it. So, of course, unlike in vanilla tools, there's no way to repair them apart from crafting 2 of them together. You can't take the raw material that was used to make it and make repairs to the thing you have. So it's well worth your time in Tinker's Construct to make better and better tools, because even the very best tools don't wear out and get destroyed. You can always keep fixing them and getting them back to full strength. In fact, there's ways to make sure that they never get worn down at all, which we'll talk about as we go through some of the different modifiers and things. Okay, over here, this thing is a crafting station. And it's really just like a crafting table from vanilla Minecraft, except when you put things on there and walk away, they stay in there. So it's kind of a combination of a chest and a crafting table. In fact, if I have a chest next to it, which I do, I can drop some cobblestone in the chest, maybe spread it out like this, and then when I look at this crafting station, I can see that cobblestone in the chest next door. So it's a very convenient kind of crafting table where you can leave things on there while you're gathering the rest of your materials. You can put a chest next door to it in order to be able to have some extra storage of things that you're going to need in future steps. Really, really super handy. Over here, we've got a tool station and a crafting table, crafting station right next to each other. And what that allows you to do is the same kinds of things that you would do on a tool station by itself, but of course with a little extra room and with having only one table. So if you happen to put them next to each other, it's a little convenient too. Okay, so those are the basic tools, and we've talked a little bit about part building, which is going to be important in the future. You can also use a lot of different materials for part building. So actually, let's talk about that before I move along here. Go back to the part builder. So here's my sword blade pattern. I can make a sword blade out of netherrack, and I'd get a netherrack sword blade. I can make it out of obsidian. I'd get an obsidian sword blade. I can make it out of wood or flint or bone. I can make it out of paper, which seems a funny thing to do, right? Because as you can see, the durability is really bad, and mining speed is slow, and it's 0 heart damage. So what on earth would you do that for? Get to that in just a second. You can make them out of cactus, which is a little bit funny. I guess you can't make sword blades out of cactus, only other parts. Slime crystals are interesting. These things are made by taking some slimy mud, which is just slime balls, dirt, and sand that you craft together and then run through a furnace to get the crystal. And once you have the crystal, it makes a perfect material for the handles of tools. In fact, this blue slime crystal is the very best stuff you could possibly use for making handles. A ball of moss is one of the things you can use to improve your item. So for example, if I take that sword, where did I put that sword? Did I drop it in this box over here? Maybe that one over there. Huh, where did I put that sword? All right, well, I'll just get myself another one. Stone pickaxe, there we go. If I take my stone pickaxe and put it in here and take a ball of moss in this kind of improvement anvil mode, you can see it adds the moss as a modifier to the stone pickaxe. And what a moss modifier means is that it's automatically going to regenerate durability over time, and in direct sunlight it's faster, but you could potentially have a tool that never wears down and breaks. It just heals itself using this ball of moss. Virtually everything I make in Tinker's Construct I add moss to. It is absolutely the thing to do. The recipe to get yourself some moss is, whoops, there we are. To take any kind of mossy stone or brick or cobblestone or whatever, craft 9 of them together and you'll get yourself a ball of moss. Okay, diamond. If you have a tool and you add diamond to it, add diamond to it, it's going to use up one of the modifiers, but you can see it's gotten a lot faster, it's gotten a lot more durable, and its mining level has increased to obsidian. So you can see the difference looking over at those stats. It's actually not any faster, look at that. It's more durable though. And it goes from only being able to mine iron ore to being able to mine obsidian. So it basically means you can get yourself the equivalent of a diamond pickaxe with a single diamond, no matter what the underlying material was. So if you do that and you add moss, so you add your moss and then you add your diamond, you have a diamond pickaxe that heals itself and will always recover any damage done to it. So even from the get-go with very basic materials or very few expensive materials, you can get yourself some really great stuff. Next up is this silky jewel. This adds silk touch. So it makes your mining speed go down because they're not quite as fast, but it makes it gives you back exactly the blocks that you are touching. And this works not just for things that you need a pickaxe for. It'll work on dirt, it'll work on wood, it'll work on glass, anything at all. So here's a really, really good way to get yourself some silk touch. The recipe for the gem here is to take some emerald and put this silky cloth around it. Silky cloth is just string around either a gold nugget or an aluminum brass nugget. And we'll talk about aluminum brass as something a little bit later, but gold nuggets aren't that hard to come by. So a little bit of string around a gold nugget gets you the cloth, 4 of those around an emerald gets you this silky jewel. Next thing you can use is this nether quartz. So let me grab myself an actual sword here. Get that out of the way. If you add quartz to any kind of weapon, it will improve its attack damage. Now, it can accept quite a lot of quartz before it's going to change statistics. So you might have to repeat this process over and over again. So pick up the sword from here, drop it back down there. It will say, okay, now that's up to 4, pick it up, drop it down, that goes up to 6, pick it up, put it down, set 8, and so on. So you can keep going and going and going. And eventually, your attack damage will go up and up and up. So if you have lots of quartz, this is a great way to take those weapons and make them even better. Next up is redstone. So you can see the mining speed now is 4. And if I add some redstone, it gets faster and faster. And of course, the more redstone I add, the faster and faster it gets. So here's a way to make your tools, especially your mining tools, and in particular your pickaxe, go a lot faster. And of course, this can be added to any tool you happen to have, no matter what base materials you made it from. So again, a very, very handy way to get yourself some better equipment, even though you started out with some pretty basic raw materials. Okay, so we'll drop all that stuff in there. Talked about those. All right, these books. Oh, a little too clever. It vanished. Apparently that doesn't work so well in creative. Okay, so here's my 2 books. This first one, you make the book just by taking one of these blank patterns, a little bit of paper, gives you the book. You make this book by continuing the process by adding a book to an existing book. Or you just take one of these books and craft it again, and it will give you the next book in the series. And you can keep crafting them into further and further books in the series, all the way up to this Diary of a Tinker, which is the last in the series. Once you've got the books, though, just right-click, not facing anything in particular, the book opens up, and it's going to walk you through how Tinker's Construct works. In fact, a lot of the material that I'm covering now is in these books, so these make really good references for a lot of this stuff. They have the recipes in them for all the basic items. We're going to talk about tool forges later. We're going to talk about drying racks later. We're going to talk about oreberry bushes later, slime channels, all that stuff. As we go through the rest of this book, though, you can see it eventually gets to talking about the upgrades that you can have for armor, and we'll talk about that in a little while. And that's it for this first book. One thing I'll note, though, as we go by, one of the items you can make is this glove, and you can put pretty much only redstone on the glove. It's kind of its only purpose. So before you go putting redstone specifically on a tool, check out the glove. That's where you really want to put your redstone. This other book, the second in the series, takes you through all the various kinds of tools that you can make and what their parts are and what things they're particularly effective on. And a lot of these are tools you've seen before, right? So shovels and hatchets are taking over from the axe. A mattock is basically a hoe and a shovel put together. A broadsword is just a regular Minecraft sword. There's a couple of other variants on swords we'll talk about in a bit. Frying pan's kind of cool, battle sign's cool, chisel. And then some of these are bigger tools that require the tool forge instead of just the tool station to build. And we'll talk about that in a while too. The second part of the book, though, has to do with the kinds of materials that you use. And each of them has its own stats for durability, for how well it works as a handle. So basically, the handle multiplies the durability by this factor. So if you make a tool with a wooden handle, it's going to remain the same as its durability because this is a 1.0 modifier. If you had a 0.5 modifier, it would mean the tool is half as durable. If you had a 2.0 modifier, it would mean the tool is twice as durable. This is the number you'd get if you made the entire tool out of that same material. The mining speed, how quickly it mines, mining level, what kinds of things can it mine, and the base attack is how much damage does this material add in addition to what the kind of tool has as its base. There's a couple of characteristics, traits, that the different materials add, and some of them, there are more than one that add these different ones. So I'll talk about them as I kind of walk through. Iron, stone, has a trait stone bound, which means as the tool gets more worn down, it goes faster and faster and faster and faster until it breaks. But even once it's broken, you can just bring it back to your tool station, add some more of that base material, whatever it is, and repair it. Iron has reinforced, which means there's a low probability that it won't break, or it won't use any durability when you use the tool. So every 10th time, every 20th time, it should have become less durable, but that doesn't happen because you had reinforced. And there's different levels of reinforced that increase the probability that it won't become less durable when you use it. So you can see here's an example of a handle modifier that's better than 1.0. So the durability of an iron handle is better than the durability of a wooden handle by that 0.3 extra. You also notice the durability here is quite a lot higher than, say, the durability of stone. Here's one that has a 1/2 durability modifier, so don't make tools with stone handles. Flint, cactus. Cactus has the jagged trait, which means the more damaged the item becomes, the more damage it does to other things. So making parts for swords out of cactus, for example, is a good idea. Bone, obsidian. Obsidian has a reinforced level of 3, so this is a good one if you're trying to make a tool especially durable, but it itself is not particularly durable. So when we get to talking about the different parts, you can see that handles are not where you want to use this thing, but you do want it in there somewhere. So if you're making, for example, a sword, here's a sword pattern, you don't want it here because that's going to be the base durability of the tool. You don't want it here because that's the handle modifier. But you do want it here because this crossguard doesn't contribute or detract or have anything to do with the durability. So it's a safe place to put a fragile material like obsidian that has such a nice reinforced bonus, right? So whenever you're making a tool, you have to consider what's the base material that it's getting its base durability from. Consider the handle modifier, that's the multiplier that that base gets multiplied by. And if you have a tool that has an extra piece, that's where you can put the thing that normally would be a bad choice but has some good characteristics. That's not always an option. So shovels, hatchets, they don't have more than one. They have a handle and they have a base, and that's it. There's no other piece to use. Pickaxes have this tool binding, and swords have their cross pieces. But yeah, hey, not everything does. Okay, looking through different tools, different materials. A lot of these are the same, so here's reinforced, but it's a lot stronger. You can see it's 700 durability. Netherrack is better than stone, but not by a lot. Uh, Blue slime and green slime. Okay, so you can see here, these things have immense durability, but their mining speed is terrible, and their mining level is actually dead useless. So, thinking it through, you definitely want these slime tool rods for the handles of your equipment, but you surely don't want to use them as the heads of your equipment. So don't make the pickaxe head out of slime crystal, make the handle out of slime crystal, and make the head out of something else. So read carefully these different modifiers and think through what you want for the given tool that you're making. A great mid-level tool is to use these slime tool rods for the handles and use something like bronze or iron for the head. And then obsidian for the middle piece, if there is a middle piece, like in a sword or a pickaxe. Green slime is a nice one, but it's a little bit less effective than blue slime. Here's the recipe. Okay, paper. Paper has the trait of writable, which adds another one of those modifiers. So for example, when you make a tool to begin with, you might have 3 modifiers, say, on that tool. And you might add some redstone, some moss, and a diamond. Well, now you're out of traits. And if you wanted to add another one, you can't. You don't have any more space. But if you made one of the parts out of paper, and again, this is not a bad choice for that middle piece to certain items, because of course the durability as a base material is terrible, the handle modifier is terrible, the mining speed is terrible, the mining level and attack are terrible, so it's terrible, 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 except for this writable thing. So that middle piece is actually not a bad thing to make out of paper. It gives you another modifier that you can add on. Here's some metals that get added by Tinker's Construct. Cobalt and Ardite are both found in the Nether. Maniolan is an alloy. We'll talk about alloys later. Copper is added by Tinker's Construct, yes, but it's also added by, well, just about every other mod that has anything to do with technology or ores or any of the above. So copper means any kind of copper from any kind of mod. Minecraft is actually pretty good at recognizing the different kinds. Bronze is an alloy of tin and copper. Steel actually is a little tricky because Tinker's Construct only provides you one way of getting steel, which is melting down chain armor. But I hear you saying there is no way to obtain chain armor except by killing mobs, and it's very, very rare, and you are quite right. So don't count on getting a lot of steel unless you've got some other mod, say Railcraft, for example, that adds steel. Pig iron has the trait of tasty and reinforced. This tasty trait, a little strange, but you will occasionally get pork chops just dropped on the ground. Okay, so those are all the base materials. The additions, the extra traits that you can add. Diamond we talked about adds more durability. Emerald also adds more durability and increases the mining level to 2 if it wasn't already. Speed for redstone, but keep in mind that glove. Auto repair we talked about. Auto smelt. You can make these lava crystals and you can add them to your tools and they'll automatically smelt whatever. But I kind of actually don't use this myself because very frequently you've got mods that double your ore, and it's a much better idea to do that because this does not double your ore. Here's how you make the moss, here's how you make lava crystals. Luck, if you add lapis to whatever tool. So this really only works for things that don't drop a single item. So for example, redstone drops a bunch of little bits of redstone dust, or lapis drops a bunch of little bits of lapis crystal. So that's the kind of thing that you're going to expect to get more of. This does apply for emeralds and diamonds, so it's not a bad way to use your extra lapis. Quartz will make tools do more attack damage, weapons rather, do more attack damage. Add a little bit of blaze powder and it will set enemies on fire. You can set them on fire for longer by adding more. Necrotic means they basically get wither, or you get healed for every time they get damaged. Silky we talked about. Here's how you make the silky cloth. You can add just an obsidian plate and that will make your tool have the reinforced trait. You can get extra knockback by adding pistons. You can knock creatures' heads off by adding obsidian and emerald and ender pearls. This is really handy if you're trying to, say, fight the wither. It gives you much better odds of getting heads from those wither skeletons. Kills spiders, kills undead. So you make the stuff. You can make the tool, instead of losing durability, lose power by adding in a hardened flux capacitor or leadstone energy cell. You then just recharge it like any of the tools from, say, Redstone Arsenal. If you want more modifiers, you can add gold and a diamond to get a few more. You can do it again if you want to be able to do this and get the magical apple and a diamond block, but things are getting expensive at this point. And again, you can do the same thing if you add another star, so really, really expensive. Players can be made to drop their heads. I don't ever turn this on. I'm not sure how it works. I suppose it might be interesting if you're doing a lot of PvP. Okay, that's it. All right, so those are your books, and I'd just say keep them handy. Usually these early game things are not so useful, but both of these books have a lot of great reference material that I find myself, as long as I've been using Tinker's Construct, I still go back and read through them and look things up again. So yeah, hang on to them. So that's it for the basics. Next time we're going to get into the smeltery and kind of the whole rest of the mod. So if you like the video, hit like. If you want to know when that next video is ready, hit subscribe. And I will talk to you later.